and it seems to perform very well. We didn't have any times against the coupe, but it does feel quicker. But of course the truth will be known now today and tomorrow. I think that the biggest place the car will be quicker is on tarmac, because it has the 6-speed gearbox and the new Torsen differentials. And apparently the factory said it's as much as a second kilometre quicker than the coupe on tarmac. So we're obviously hoping that we can give the Cosworths a bit more of a go on the tarmac.
The Ford Sierra Cosworth to catch last year was that of Jimmy McRae, winner of the Circuit of Ireland and winner here on the Isle of Man. This victory, guided by co-driver Ian Grindrod, clinched the 1987 title.
Narrows, 50. Medium right, 50. Turn, open, medium right.
But for 1988, the long-standing McRae-Grindrod partnership had broken up.
Ian Grindrod has gone to Vauxhall, gone with Malcolm, and I've got faithful old Rob Arthur with me. So Rob, you know, we've done events before, done 3 events in the past with Rob, over in 2 in Belgium and 1 in Spain. So we know each other, and I don't think there'll be a problem there.
Malcolm Wilson had left Peugeot to go to GM, but Peugeot still had the Rally Driver of the Year, Louise Aitken Walker.
Well, it's always the same for the first rally. You've got to weigh up the competition for the year and find out how your car's going to perform before stepping into a whole championship. I found in the RAC that the 1900 was a bit quicker than the 1600, and we seemed to handle it okay. The Astras are the main competition, I would say.
And one of the top Astra challengers last year had been Pentti Airikkala. This gutsy effort had really put the pressure on McRae on the Isle of Man. Airikkala had started 1987 in an Opel Manta 400, and it was a winning start for the Finn in the Yorkshire forests. Last year it was a battle through mud and snow. This year it will be better conditions, as Airikkala chased Hannu Mikkola's record of 4 wins on the event. But for Pentti, a change of machinery. He'd be at the wheel of a Mitsubishi Starion Turbo.
It's more powerful, certainly more torque, and it handles better. I think it is a very clever suspension there, and the engine is quite far back, so it gives you quite a nice weight balance. So I'm very optimistic. I think the English birds are quietly confident.
Last year's winner, away from the Cartel International start in Bradford, carrying our onboard camera. But it was the champion McRae, first man through the opening stage at Harewood House. The conditions murky but mild. Llewellin in the big Audi, keen to start the excitement as quickly as possible. And despite moments like that, it was Llewellin who was quickest on the opening stage, a few seconds faster than Airikkala in the Mitsubishi. Malcolm Wilson's season with GM has already started well, with an 8th place in Sweden on the 2nd round of the World Championship. He was looking for a similar result with the Vauxhall Astra here. Also front-wheel drive, Louise Aitken Walker in the 1.9-litre Peugeot 205. Louise's teammate, Callie Grundle, had a brand new 1.9-litre Peugeot 309. And a now familiar sight on the Open Championship, back to contest another year, John Haugland in the Skoda. Harewood House, though, was just a warm-up for the real rally in the Yorkshire forests, where conditions were the best in recent years. In all, 36 stages over 2 days, totaling 200 stage miles. Llewellin had started well, so too had Airikkala. On board in the Mitsubishi, no pace notes allowed on the event, so all co-driver Ronan McNamee has to do is give the occasional guidance. Apart from that, he just sits back and admires the talent in the driver's seat.
Looks okay.
Within a couple of forest stages, Airikkala was into the lead, using most of the car's 280 horsepower. Llewellin, by contrast, was finding the Audi a little down on power, and the dry, surprisingly dusty stages weren't making the best use of the car's 4-wheel drive. Jimmy McRae, with the new co-driver, was making a cautious start, but Rob Arthur alongside him is one of the most experienced men in the sport, and they were holding on to a comfortable third place. Phil Collins, you may remember, was the man leading last year's Manx Rally before crashing out on the second day. Since then, they've painted the car pink, and I'm afraid to say he and co-driver Brian Thomas wear pink overalls as well. But despite the colour scheme, they were fourth in the Ford Sierra Cosworth. Then came the Peugeots, sharing fifth place. This is Louise Aitken Walker in the 205, driving as well as ever. Her performance in the RAC Rally, where she was challenging the top 10, was obviously a tremendous boost to her confidence. Swedish teammate Kalle Grundle in the 309 GTI struggles to keep in touch, and he's a man with a great amount of World Championship experience. A surprise seventh place for Gwyndaf Evans in a Group N Sierra Cosworth. Group N means it's effectively a standard showroom car. He shared that seventh place with Dave Metcalfe's Vauxhall Astra. Metcalfe's teammate, Malcolm Wilson, was fighting his way back through the field after breaking a drive shaft on the third stage. Pentti Airikkala, though, was avoiding the major problems to keep the Mitsubishi at the head of the field. Airikkala twitching the car through the mist of the forest, while on board it was still admiring silence.
Look straight through. Bad left coming.
Problems would come for Pentti, though, as he lost third gear for 3 stages, the gear he used most, and his lead over Llewellin was just 4 seconds. Llewellin himself, though, couldn't close the gap. The car still that fraction down on power. It was quite clear, though, that it was a fascinating battle at the front, the leading 3 evenly matched. Airikkala, Llewellin and Jimmy McRae in the Ford Sierra Cosworth. McRae, after 8 stages, a mere second behind Llewellin, the smallest possible margin. About 45 seconds further back, Phil Collins. And then Louise Aitken Walker, who forced herself clear of teammate Grundle. Also moving up the field into 6th, Gwyndaf Evans. This is Dave Metcalfe in the Vauxhall Astra. Alongside Metcalfe, Mike Broad, Russell Brooks's former co-driver. Metcalfe was making him feel at home. Metcalfe trying to take the shortest possible route, hitting a tree stump and very nearly reaching the point of no return. Meanwhile, the other Vauxhall Astra was up to 8th, Malcolm Wilson continuing his fight back. Also 8th, but dropping down the field, Kalle Grundle, losing power and losing oil. He's soon to retire. John Haugland can normally be relied on for a solid finish in the Skoda, but not this time. Haugland would shortly go out with a broken gearbox. And that would leave Colin McRae in a strong position to challenge in the 1300cc class in his Vauxhall Nova. Heading into the night, and Llewellin has sorted his problems and is back into the lead.
We had a problem Stage 5, over a jump, we broke a front strut and we had to do several stages with the car like that. We didn't have time to change it. And we had an engine problem. It wasn't pulling in between 4,000 and 5,000 RPM. But the lads now have sorted it all out and we're going better. We've taken the lead back now, so only, I think, 10 seconds over Penty and 20 over Jimmy. It's still quite close, but we are taking time off them now instead of them taking time off us.
We are second at the moment, and if the stages are fast, we are fastest, but if the stages are slippery and twisty, then David Llewellin is going very well, those stages. So we shall see. I suppose tomorrow I think the stages will be faster ones, so it should be all right if we are brave enough.
Hairpin right. And hairpin left.
Daylight sees a dramatically different leaderboard. Airikkala still leads, but there's no Llewellin and no McRae. Instead, it's the Mitsubishi with a 5-minute lead from Louise Aitken Walker's Peugeot, and then the Ford Sierras of Bertie Fisher, Gwyndaf Evans. The story of all that, as an unchallenged Airikkala comes into sight. In the darkness, Llewellin had been first to go, developing a problem with water in the fuel that rapidly forced his retirement. McRae then, trying to force the pace, went off the road in Dalby Forest and ran out of time trying to retrieve the situation. Another casualty of the night, Phil Collins, which meant all the pressure was off Airikkala as long as the car kept going. If the Mitsubishi faltered, then Louise Aitken Walker in the Peugeot was there to pick up the pieces. Nobody had profited more from the overnight carnage than the popular Ulsterman Bertie Fisher, up to third in the Ford Sierra Cosworth. He'd got ahead of Gwyndaf Evans, content to maintain his Group N lead rather than challenge those ahead. Attacking the top 5, Graham Middleton's Toyota, leading the 1600cc Group A class. Making up for his father's absence, Colin McRae in the Vauxhall Nova was now 7th. McRae driving with all the flair of his father. The attrition meant there were some unlikely names in the top 10. This is Ramon Ferreras of Peru, lying 8th. Harry Hockley, one of the great stalwarts of British rallying, a rare top 10 placing for him. Dave Metcalfe had problems and dropped to 13th, but teammate Malcolm Wilson was another to go out overnight. Back at the head of the field, Airikkala could now afford to drop the pace. Airikkala heading for victory number 4 in the Yorkshire forests, and the Mitsubishi was thought to be a car better suited to tarmac. The Yorkshire forests, notoriously tough on tyres. For Airikkala, Pirelli came prepared for everything, especially snow, but in the absence of winter, Airikkala had opted for the wider tyres that took Ewa Kankkunen to victory on the RAC. From the wheels up, there were no problems for the rally leader. no problems either for Louise Aitken Walker, apart from the widening gap to the man in front. Louise heading for her best ever international result. And with Bertie Fisher gone, Gwyndaf Evans up to third. Fisher went out when the car's suspension broke after hitting a log. 2 minutes behind, Graham Middleton, Toyota. Chris Birkbeck up to seventh in a Vauxhall Astra. It was all changing very rapidly in the lower part of the top 10. Battered Ford of Steve Hill after an excursion, but he's going well and amazingly has made it 3 Group N cars in that top 10. Dave Metcalfe also with signs of having gone off. Metcalfe had rolled, so the Kendall man was still 13th when, given what was happening to the rest of the field, he should have been on for a place in the top 3. But now a broken drive shaft is wiping out any hope of making a climb back through the field. Closing on him on the stage, the Nova with a flapping tailgate, is that of Harry Hockley. Here's Hockley in the air-conditioned Nova. Remember that Hockley is ahead of Metcalfe in the rally order, and the cars on the stages are racing the clock and not each other.
50 left, 6.
But for the rally leader Airikkala, it's a racing finish with the final stage on the Oliver's Mount race circuit just outside Scarborough.
And right 8 hairpin.
Louise Aitken Walker was just over 7 minutes behind the Mitsubishi at the close. Then came Gwyndaf Evans to win Group N and get a place in the top 3. The Group N cars surprisingly quick throughout the field. The Group N Mazda that forced its way into 4th was that of David Maslin, even though 5th place Graham Middleton appeared to be quicker on Oliver's Mount. Ramon Ferreiros, 6th, his best Open Championship finish, but a lot of drivers in this unlikely top 10 were able to say the same. For Colin McRae in 7th, we can expect a lot more well-placed finishes. It should be a very bright rallying future for the young man from Lanark.
50, right 6 long.
But the man who'd seen off McRae Sr. was now putting on a final show for the Oliver's Mount crowd before claiming victory.
It was first time I drove a car. I drove about 1 hour before the rally, or tested it in airfield, but so obviously I wasn't really driving well with a car in the early part of the rally, and I was learning about it and so on.
Keep left for finish. Well done.
When David Llewellin retired, we were 1 second behind him and catching him, and because we had this gearbox problem earlier, so we lost some time, and when we were catching quite a lot, so we felt very confident about it. And when Jimmy went off, we were over a minute ahead of him anyhow, and going very well. So, and we never really needed to stress ourselves, so it went all right.
Louise Aitken Walker in 2nd, her best international placing.
The car is a very nice car to drive. Plus it's got some more brake horsepower, and I feel very confident in the car, and that makes up for a lot, really.
Now, does this result augur well for the season, for a good championship result, do you think?
Well, start is the way you mean to go on, isn't that the saying?
Cartel International Rally, Airikkala with